Hi guys, so I'm going to go through today how to verify a KPA, and you can use it however much or little you want. I like to do as much as possible when I'm hiring for myself because it's important to bond to the person, and it's also important to learn as much as you can before you pull the trigger, right? It's like dating before you get married. And there are a few things that I do to prepare. So one thing is I like to be in a room with no windows or windows are closed. I want to make sure that there's privacy and no interruptions. And the interruptions could just as easily be somebody walking by the window constantly. And so if you are in a office setting where it has a window, just set yourself where neither of you are looking at the window, if that makes sense. So that's something that I've done in the past. One of the other things I like to do is where we sit is important. So I don't want to sit on the opposite side of the table as them, right? I don't want this to feel like an interview. This is me getting to know them. At the same time, I can't sit right next to them. I would love that energy of us like sitting next to each other and like together we're looking at this. But I really like all the cues that I get by looking at them. So my goal is usually a little 90-degree angle. I want to be sitting here and they're here. And so even if you're at a round table, we're going to sit at the seats next to each other at a round table of 4. And so I'm going to sit at that 90-degree angle where I'm here, they're there, so that we can get into it. One of the things I like to do is I print it off. I like to flip to the page I'm going to start with. I have it turned upside down. I have a blue pen. I like to write in blue so that even when I scan it in, it's obvious which notes are mine versus the paperwork notes. And then I have waters for both of us and snacks. Not that we're going to need it, but I would rather have it there than not have it there. Snack wise, water wise, we will both need it because you're gonna get dry mouth fast. So I usually do water bottles, not this like regular water, like disposable water bottles, because you'll drink more than you think talking through this. So whenever you go into the form, it's like, okay, what am I using? Like, where am I going? Then if you scroll down, the job fit report is nice for you personally, but that's not what we're going to be going through whenever we're verifying the KPA. So if you scroll down, there's going to be a section in the second section called Job Fit Consulting Guide. And in that section, if you go to the, every KPA is different, so I don't know what page it is for you, but somewhere around page 4-ish. So it might be page 3 or page 6, but somewhere around page 4 it's going to say job considerations 1, Roman numeral 1 at the top. That's going to be the first page that you're going to start with. And the way that I prep a KPA, so we're sitting, I've got my blue pen, I've got my paper, I've got waters, we're good, ready? And so I've got it, my paper is flipped upside down. So I say, it's important that I learn about you in a very authentic voice. The consultant put this together. I don't know if it's accurate. You're going to tell me if it's accurate. We're going to go through it and we're going to make it 100% accurate together. So I'm going to take notes and we're going to make sure that together we agree that this is 100% accurate. So you're going to tell me about you. Okay. And so from there, the energy of Melissa is done. Now I go into not quite Ben Stein, but it's a very slow, emotionless, calculated conversation. So I'm going to read you a short paragraph, and on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd like you to tell me how accurate this is. And I'm going to use this as I have one here that I'm going to use as an example to give you an example of how I speak when I'm talking to them. So that's what I would have said to them. And then I would, so you'll, on a scale of 1 to 10, you'll tell me how accurate this is. Alex works most effectively when Alex has a well-established structure to follow and when Alex's responsibilities are clear. Alex will want to avoid uncertainty and ambiguity, and Alex is apt to appreciate a manager who is accessible and willing to provide input and guidance without reservation. So it's not quite Ben Stein, right? So like I'm a heavy enunciation, slow, consistent tone, just like very, very clear what I'm saying. There can't be like, what did you just say? It's very clear what I'm saying. I'm going heavy on clarity. So very heavy on the enunciation of each word and like slowly giving it. And so then they're going to tell you on a scale of 1 to 10. If it's a 10, you just say 10. And you can dig in, and there's some like probing suggestions and dig deeper. There's some suggestions here. Something I will say is like if somebody is describing something and I don't get it, I'd be like, one of my scripts is, I think we're speaking the same language, but just to be sure, break it down for me. And that helps them to feel like we're on the same page. I just have to explain it a different way. And I'm going to explain it so simply that like anybody could get it, right? And that's what I want. I want them to give it to me. Don't give me the flowery junk. I don't need to know how deep your thesaurus runs. I'm looking to just understand who you are. So they're usually going to tell you they're a 10. You're going to get 10s a lot. So if they say that they're anything else, it might be an 8 or a 9. And so then what I would say is, what would make it a 10? And they'll say, well, there was this one line. And I'll be like, do you want me to read it again? And they're like, yeah. And so I might read the first sentence or the last sentence or whatever. I'll reread it, and then they'll stop me. And I'll be like, and then my question always is, my follow-up question is there ever a time that that's true? So let's say that Alex says she works most effectively when Alex has well-established structure to follow and when Alex's responsibilities are clear. And well, let's say she's like, no, I actually work best when responsibilities aren't clear, which is crazy. No one's going to say that. And let's say that that's the case. And I would go, is there ever a time that is accurate? Is there ever a time that you work best when responsibilities are clear? And she's like, well, yeah, it's, when I'm playing a game with my friends or doing this or blah. And you're like, okay, so like it is accurate. But you don't say that. You're just like, okay. And like they're affirming what they're saying is not true, but like, it's okay. Like we're not here to judge them. We're just here to take notes, right? They're showing us who they are. Sometimes people have a feeling about a word or a set of words. And so it's not the denotative version that is getting them, it's the connotative version that is tripping them up. Sometimes you'll see this with, depending on where they grew up, like different parts of the country or different ethnicities or different sexes, they will have different feelings about certain words that it just triggers them differently. And it's not good or bad, it just is. And it's not connected to the denotative description, it's connotative. So just staying in curiosity and asking about it will help to expose that it is accurate usually. So then scrolling down, you're going to do that on all of these different areas. And then you're going to get to the job considerations 2. And this is where things might not line up with the job as much. And so this is going to be where you could like probe, you might want to probe more. So logical problem solving. And in this section, it'll have a gray box that says considerations, like saying this is how Alex might not, this person might not be a fit, right? And just you being cognizant of how they're a mismatch. And they don't even have to be far off base, just far off base enough that they're a mismatch. So then you're going to go through the jobs considerations 2, same thing. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to read this paragraph to you on a scale of 1 to 10. You tell me how accurate it is. It'll usually be a 10 or an 8 or a 9. Then you go into operating style. This paragraph is longer, So one of the things that I usually do is whenever it's a longer paragraph, I'll tell someone, this next paragraph is longer than the previous ones. And so I usually suggest that somebody closes their eyes or finds a blank space on the wall so that you can just really listen and take in everything that I'm saying. Okay? And so they do that. They find their space, they close their eyes, whatever it is, and then I read again with the same energy, like slowly and Binstein-ish. And then you're going to go through all of those, and then you'll go to the descriptive review. I usually break the descriptive review up by paragraphs because it's usually 3 to 6 paragraphs, and it's a lot to read, just read straight through to make sure it's accurate. It usually is a 10, so it's still a lot though, because they're listening for a long time, like really focused on listening to you. So I usually break that up into, I'll do the first paragraph, then the second, and then move forward. And then the candidate report rating. So this is the beginning of the end. So you're going to go on a scale of 1 to 10, how accurate was the whole report? And they're going to say whatever they say. And don't have an emotional attachment to the numbers that they give, because they might tell you differently. Like they might actually explain it back to you that like their version of an 8 might be your version of a 9 or 10, right? So like it could just be one word that's off, and that could feel like an 8 to them. So don't have an emotional attachment to the numbers. I don't care. We're just making this accurate and learning about the person. Then you're going to ask what was most accurate and what would you say was least accurate. And then, I don't usually do the overall comments, because what I usually do at this point is after I do most accurate and least accurate, I turn the whole pack of paper upside down, put my pen down, I lean back in my chair and I go, so what did you think? And then they know that stoic energy is done, and now we're back to being normal. And they're like, oh my gosh, that was so cool. I don't know how it was so accurate. And that's the overall comments, but you're really going to get that when you keep that energy through. And then and like I said, I sit back, I put my pen down, paper down. I'm like, so what did you think? And then they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. And I was like, I know, it's fun, right? So and then whenever you finish a KPA, if you're not sure, just be like, I want to review my notes with Melissa before I make it, before we decide what's next. The one thing that I like to do when I book a KPA is I already like to have the time set in my schedule for when I'm going to do the next interview, so that if I'm like, yes, then I can go ahead and just schedule it. I mean, I don't know that they're available, but I'm just going to have that time already, like I'm going to have like 2 or 3 times already available in my schedule, so that if they are a yes, then I can just go ahead and move and like, let's go. So if you have any questions, it usually takes about an hour. If they're very chatty, maybe an hour and a half. Usually it's about an hour. Very rarely less than 45 minutes. So I would not be optimistic about your time. I would be pessimistic when you're planning, because you don't want to feel rushed. You don't want to be checking the clock. You really want to be present with the person. So if you have any questions about this or going through it or what it looks like, feel free to reach out. I am so excited. I love verifying a KPA, and it means the beginning of the end of the process. Once we move to KPA, you're like 7 to 10 days out from a hire. It moves so fast. So it's exciting. All right, bye.